Welcome, everyone. This is Coach Human here with the Success for Life podcast. I don't know what episode we're on now. It must be like 120 or something, somewhere in that range. We're really been rolling with the guests. We started off the new season, the fourth season, earlier this week, and now we have another great guest on. Unbelievable week of guests. Midweek, we're here with Dr. Kelly Henry, and we're gonna really unpack the art of customer service here, and how to be able to deliver it and be able to maximize your profits in your business by delivering that exceptional customer service. And he has a fantastic book. Without stealing all his thunder here, he's got a fantastic book called Define and Deliver Exceptional Customer Service. Dr. Kelly Henry, welcome to the Success for Life podcast.
Well, thank you very much, Coach. I really appreciate the opportunity to be on your awesome shows.
Well, I'm excited to have you on. This is a thorn in people's side for a lot of businesses, and what do I mean by that? I mean they obviously you're not going to be in business if you don't deliver really good customer service. But managing that as you grow becomes an issue, and every business goes through it. I don't care what they say. There's some point, especially if you're trying to scale. Now, if you're taking on one client at a time, that's a different business. But if you're trying to scale, you're going to have customer service issues. You have to have a plan on how to address it. Before we get into all that, give us a little bit about your background, where you come from, how you got to this point, how you became a doctor, and then we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Well, I'm a doctor of chiropractic. I practiced for 20 years, basically in New Mexico. I was fortunate to be able to build up two very successful clinics, and I did that on the basic premise of providing great customer service. And so in 2018, I decided to retire and sell out my practices, and decided to pivot and shift gears, become a coach and consultant in the area, obviously, of customer service, and help businesses improve that area, implement the processes and the procedures, and then reap the massive benefits from doing so. So that's where I am now, and love what I'm doing at this point, helping these businesses grow in their customer service arenas.
So did you learn all those things while operating your chiropractic? A lot of the lessons that you have within customer service, does it come from that business? Tell me a little bit more about that.
It does. The vast majority does. And what's funny is I basically backed into even having this premise of providing great customer service in my clinics. The area, the community we lived in New Mexico, when we first moved there and I started my practice, smaller community, established businesses, not much competition. And a lot of these businesses, not all of them, but there were a handful of them that you had to deal with, and they could care less how they treated you. Their idea of customer service is they flipped on the light, opened the doors, and you had to do business, and they could ignore you. They could treat you however they wanted. And I hated that. That just bugged the crud out of me. So I just made a decision early on when we moved to this community that my clinics were going to be different. And we were going to value my patients. Well, lo and behold, when you start doing that, the patients start communicating and saying, hey, we just love coming in here and how you treat us. And I started seeing the impact it was having just from starting that out, and really piqued my interest. So I started studying it more and understanding it better and implementing better practices and trial and error. And so that 20 years of accumulated knowledge and trial and error that I utilize and that I learned and I dealt with in my own businesses, I now teach and preach and coach businesses on what to do in that regard as far as doing better with their customer service.
Now, are you working with them on service-based business, which was more along what chiropractic was, or is it any type of business? Is it product-based? Will these principles apply to all of those?
They really do apply to all of them. Customer service, it's valuing the customer. So if you have a customer, these principles are really going to apply. Now, for me personally, what I tend to want to work with or like to work with or function better with working with service-based businesses and particularly those in the medical field, although I'm not exclusive to that. But the medical doctors, the dentists, the chiropractors, the PTs, obviously I speak their language and know a little bit about what they deal with as far as their business is. But the principles, again, they work across the board, with basically every industry, any kind of business, whether it's service or product based.
Very cool. So I want to kind of get into some scenarios of different things and how you might handle it, which I think are real important in customer service. Before I do that, I want to let you kind of share the main principles of what your kind of philosophy is on delivering exceptional customer service. First we could kind of start there, and then I want to talk about how it translates into profits. Tell me about some of the principles that you have as far as delivering exceptional customer service.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing to understand, and I'm sure the listeners kind of know this, but we're not talking customer service as a department of a business. We're not talking the customer service department where you call in and complain or call in to get a question answered. We're talking about customer service as a culture, as a foundation principle for a business. So just to clarify that, my personal definition of great or exceptional customer service is a relentless focus on the customer each and every time they're interacting with the business, whatever form that is in, but a relentless focus on the customer to make the customer feel their best when they are dealing with a business. So that's just a simple definition. So that kind of frames things up. Now, the main principle for customer service, and there's a few, but one of the main ones is you have to understand that you're in the customer perception business regardless of what business you're in. If you're a chiropractor, if you're a plumber, if you're an online solopreneur, digital products, it doesn't matter. You're in the customer perception business and you're driving some kind of perception. You're either driving a perception that you provide great customer service or you don't. So that's the first thing you have to realize. Second thing is customer perception is driven by how you make them feel. So this goes back to my definition. When you make a customer feel important, valued, special, again, you're driving a certain kind of perception. One of great customer service. When you're not valuing and driving that perception for a customer, then obviously you're not going to be credited with providing great customer service. So that's a good starting point, just to have that definition and a couple of principles there to understand where you need to be looking and what you need to understand as far as moving forward with your ability to provide better customer service.
That makes a ton of sense. I mean, customers' perception is the reality, whether
Exactly.
you like it or not. It's one of the things over the years that when we've handled customer service, or even myself, when I deal with clients, people that I work with, what their perception is their actual reality. It's not necessarily what you think you're providing or what you think you're doing for the customer. What they perceive it as, you have to address that perception. And you're trying to get to the fundamental details of that perception and what that is before you can really figure out what they want and what they need. Because if you don't understand that perception, you're not going to be able to address a lot of things. Really a good point. And I think about a lot of it as like customer success, customer experience, right? So how do you manage their perceptions? What are the things that are important to do within your business to be able to provide the right perception of your business? And therefore, the first part, which you really honed in on, that experience, having the right experience with your business.
Well, it's very difficult to control everybody's experience necessarily. Customers come in, they're upset and happy, angry, it runs the gamut. The thing that is critical and that has to be done is to provide proactive customer service. So this doesn't necessarily, it forms a better way to help that perception is what it amounts to. So there's proactive customer service and there's reactive. So proactive customer service is a choice. It's a culture. It says it doesn't matter what day of the week it is. It doesn't matter if I'm in a good mood. It doesn't matter if the customer's in a good mood. It doesn't matter if it's raining. It doesn't matter who's the president. Nothing matters. I've made a choice, and I am going to be the best part of that customer's day. I am going to value them. I am going to try to put a smile on their face no matter what. Reactive customer service is where a lot of businesses fall into and get into trouble, not being able to control that perception. Is reactive is, well, I'm not in a particularly good mood. It's Monday morning, and so I'm not really wanting to be here today. It's not payday, it's raining out, or whatever the circumstances are going to control whether I provide great customer service. Or if the customer comes in upset or not in a particularly good mood, then I'm not going to try to change that for them. So key is really to have that decision made. This is what we're going to do. We're going to provide great customer service no matter what, and just move forward with that. And that goes a long ways in being able to control that perception for each and every customer.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. Understanding the customer is obviously a big deal. How important is getting to know? So I guess when you scale, like when you had one chiropractic facility, it's fairly easy to know most of your customers, right? But if you scale up to 10, 15, 20, and you're now managing the business, your personal relationship with the customers is going to be different. You might still have a handful of customers, but your bandwidth only goes so far. How do you maintain that same customer service as you go and scale? What are some important things that you think are necessary when you're scaling?
It's all about, again, having the culture, having the foundation, and then training that to the employee. That's all that matters. A business is not a business. A business is the employees. The employees create the perception for the customers. And so that's what has to go right along with the scaling process, the training and that core concept of great customer service to each of the, to the new franchises or to the new business or whatever the case may be. That is so critical. And that's what, fortunately, I was pretty decent at doing. But that's where a lot of businesses, again, fall short. Where, like you mentioned, that first business was great and we had great relationships and things were great. But then those principles that help create those relationships don't get moved to the next, to the satellite business or to the franchise business. And so it has to be, again, great customer service has to be a foundation and a culture, and that culture just goes from business to business to business as you're scaling through. But it goes through the employees, and that's the critical factor. They have to feel it, they have to know it, they have to own it to be able to execute it.
And I like to call it more. I almost think of it more as like client success than customer service, because I think you're right that when you hear customer service, first thing people think about is, calling up the person who handles quote unquote customer service and screaming and yell at them because they screwed something up, or the company screwed something up. But obviously, client success and trying to create, successful experience with you, and making sure they get to where they want to go. That upfront training, and to me, one of something that leads that perception is, I don't know if you ever see any of these like short Chick-fil-A, they're all over TikTok now, and these videos where they're sprinting alongside the car, training them to be able to deliver wherever they need to deliver faster, all these different kind of things. To me, that's a glaring example of them saying, we will do anything to help our customer. And obviously that's part of their culture, Chick-fil-A. Yep. and it holds into their franchise model, which is vastly different than every other franchise model in fast food. Is that training, like what has to go into that initial training in order for that to happen? Because so many times you see a business starts out as 1 or 2 locations, franchises nationally. Starts out, the first 20 or so are good, and then when it gets to 50 to 75 to 100, next thing you know, you see within 10 years or so, they're out of business and they're retracting, or their product or isn't as good. You see it a ton, obviously, in food industry. The food isn't as good, right? So, like, so what has to be done up front to ensure as you continue to grow? Like, what type of training, what are some of the key components that you think are necessary?
You bet. Well, first of all, again, and I've mentioned this a few times, I hate to beat a dead horse, but it's got to be a culture. It's got to be a foundation principle that, is just, this is a core piece of this business,
right,
that is going to be placed in each and every business as we scale out.
Right.
And if you lose sight of that, like you mentioned, 5-10 years down the road, what happened? Why aren't we as successful as we once were? For some reason, that principle gets watered down and or maybe shifted to the side, and it's just not quite as important. So again, it's got to be that core piece that is never compromised. As far as the employees go, a key component is hiring the right employees. My number one rule for hiring, and this doesn't equate across the board because you may need more technical people, but if we're talking Chick-fil-A, you want to hire attitude first. You want to hire the bubbly, the friendly, the enthusiastic person, and then we can train the technical skills, how to run the cash register and how to flip chicken sandwiches, fairly easy. But you want to hire the right people. That's another key concept. Hire attitude first, and then you can train the rest. Then in the training process, it would actually even before the training, but certainly during training, and then certainly during employment, just as a whole, the employees have to feel like they are valued in that business as well. So you can give them all the training on customer service and all the actions and all the words and all the scripts to do, but if you're ruling with an iron fist and those employees don't feel like they're valued or important in that business, then all those actions are going to be undermined and they will not be as effective. So that's a huge component, is the employees need to be treated as well, if not better, than you want them to treat the customers. So that's a huge piece. And then you can train, the service mentality and the actions and all those things. But you got to get the foundation and certain steps right, and then that training's much more effective. And we've all dealt with this. When we've been treated well, and we feel like we're important to our employer or our business, you want to reciprocate that. You want to be a good employee. You want to provide great service. So it's much more difficult when you feel like you're just a number, just another employee. Nobody cares what you're doing, or what has no clue what you're doing, or doesn't value it all. What's the use? If I show up, or if I provide great service. So that's a very key component, that the employees have to be valued in order for them to show value to the customers. Happy employees equal happy customers.
Absolutely. Although you can't make every employee happy, and you can't make every customer happy. So when you get into situations, let's talk with customers, where something goes wrong, you put all the right things in place. You've hired the bubbly, enthusiastic person that you think should be doing the job. You're treating your employees well. You're empowering them. You're doing all the right things. And no matter what, something's going to go wrong.
Absolutely.
And when something goes wrong, what are the things that you think are necessary for those employees and, I guess, management to handle it and put it in a positive situation?
You bet. There's a couple of things that make a huge difference in the customer's eyes if you do it correctly, when the business drops the ball. Like you mentioned, it happens. I mean, it's just human nature. It's the nature of business. Not everything goes perfectly, so you got to be able to handle it correctly. First thing is apologize and own up to the issue, the problem, and take responsibility of it. And it doesn't matter, the last thing you need to do is play the blame game and shirk responsibility, and that's goes back to the employees and creating a proper culture that's a team culture. That, yeah, Susie may have dropped the ball, but I'm not going to blame Susie. We're on the same team, so I'm just going to say, hey, you dropped the ball, and I'm going to take care of it, and we're going to do it to your satisfaction. So that's key. Take responsibility, apologize as quickly as possible, and not play the blame game. So nobody wants to hear that. That just puts, that just makes you look bad. The second thing is to do it quickly and to resolve the issue quickly as possible. Customers really key into that. When a business will own up to the problem and then they try to resolve that problem as quickly as possible, that makes a huge difference for a customer in their perception of what's going on, and really even giving you more credit for your customer service when things are done very quickly. So those two are key factors when the business drops the ball. And oddly enough, like I just mentioned, a customer who has a problem, but then the problem is resolved, it's apologized for, it's taken responsibility for from a business standpoint, those customers will actually have a higher level of customer loyalty. They'll be the ones that are really the mouthpiece for the business and, fight to the death before they leave you, because their problem was taken care of to their satisfaction, and the business did it quickly and really made them feel valued through that situation.
Very good point. And I think that's those are difficult things too that happen with scale, because you start to have more issues, and that's where the ball gets dropped. Again, I think with scale, there has to be some sort of plan there. Where does technology fall into all of this? As far as providing good customer service that you want to have, where does technology fall? And the reason why I ask is, obviously, we're on Facebook and Google. Try and contact Google and Facebook and see what happens, right? Now, they're two of the largest companies in the world. Right? Now, if you go to Tesla, you're going to get great customer service, right? So it's a different type of product, right? So it's a product that, someone's spending $50,000 to $70,000 or more on a car, they're going to spend that money. You're going to have a bigger plan in place. Google or Facebook, they have all kinds of products they sell, but they already have your attention, so they are going to do everything through technology. Where does it fall? How do you know how much you need to use? You know what I mean? And where does technology fall into all this from a customer service standpoint?
There's two ways I like to look at it, using technology and technology in general as far as customer service. One is people love fast. Consumers love fast. So from that aspect of things, if you can leverage technology in whatever form or fashion for your business, where you make it more convenient and can make it quicker for a consumer to do business with you, then by all means utilize it. That works wonders. We live in a microwave society. Everybody wants everything now. We live in an Amazon world where we can make 2 clicks and an item will be on our doorstep today, if not tomorrow. So we're just trained to be that way at this point in our lives. So the quicker you can function with a customer, deliver a product, deliver a service, more conveniently, the better. On the side of technology in the form of monitoring complaints, monitoring praises, those type of things, businesses need to make sure they're up to speed on the Facebooks and the Twitters and the Instagrams and have pages on all of those so the consumer can look at them, because that's, social platforms are huge, and utilizing that to monitor, sales to some degree, but also complaints and those type of things, and have somebody dedicated to be able to handle those issues. People will go to those sites to ask questions about your business and to learn more about you. So you have to, and that's not going away. So you have to be able to encompass that too. Even though it's made more difficult, you may have to hire extra staff or take more time to be able to do that. But it is important to make sure you're addressing those areas, because if not, that's a black mark. That's a negative against the business. Those that either don't have a representation on those sites, or they don't monitor them and effectively use them to monitor, like say the complaints, the questions, and those type of things. So
that's a great point you brought up there. How does a small business that is on every social, I'm a small business and we've had a lot of success and we're a huge presence on social, okay? So what is a huge benefit for us in gaining customers and interacting with customers with a large following can also work as a negative, because you're still a small business. People don't realize that you're a small business. They think maybe you're much bigger than you are. They think you have 100 employees, right? So you're getting flooded with things that you have to take care of, or a couple of your employees have to take care of, and they're getting overwhelmed. Are there solutions for small business? And you see like Gary Vee's like, you got to be on every social media thing there is. You could go on every one of my social media platforms. I have scale on all of them, which all that means is just so many more people to interact with, right? And that's a positive. But if you're going through your list on Twitter of DMs and you have hundreds of them and you miss 2 or 3, those are 2 or 3 people that are unhappy. You're not intending it that way, but you're trying to handle it. And then you're trying to pass off what you can, and they'll still miss them. How do you handle social and customer service without breaking the bank?
You bet. I'm a big proponent of hiring VAs, and it's you got to vet them and you got to get the right ones, obviously. So, but VAs are tremendous. They're cheaper than hiring employees because of the tax. It's basically a write-off. As we all know, but VAs are tremendous. You can get them trained, get them narrowed into 1 or 2 tasks where they can monitor that, take some pressure off you, the business owner, and monitoring all these different sites and the different questions and concerns and comments and all the things that you may have to deal with. That's a game changer. If it's saving you, an hour a day, a couple hours a day, what's that worth to you and your business when you're paying them just a fraction of what you can earn, because your time is better well spent on marketing or making sales and doing the things that are really going to generate revenue for your business. So VAs are a good way to go about helping your business scale and taking care of things properly.
And do you give the VA a platform? Let's say you're monitoring social. Do most of those VAs have a platform that they're able to, once they have your login, to be able to go across and monitor all the social in one area, or a Hootsuite or something like that?
It depends. Some do, some don't. Sometimes you just have to give them all your logins and hey, have at it and let's monitor this type of thing. So that obviously has to be some trust there. So
right.
And the ones that have the single platform where they can plug everything in, they're going to be more expensive generally than the ones that you're giving your login information to. So there's some. Again, you got to vet out the right ones and have that trust factor, but it's doable either side of it.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. The VAs can be really helpful. It's pretty cool stuff. As far as now, we've talked about handling customer issues. Now let's go on the employee side. So I'm going back to our bubbly employee here. They start out, they're doing a great job. You've empowered them. Now they've had a couple of issues, and they themselves are struggling with the customer service aspect of it. Not when everything's going good. Everybody does well when everything's going good, but occasionally when they have an issue. How do you address that employee? And let's say that employee does a really good job, but that's their weakness, right? How do you address that with the employee? Because a lot of times I found that employees really want to do a great job, and sometimes your best employees have such pride in what they do that when someone dislikes what they do for whatever reason. It has nothing to do with them, but they had a bad day, whatever, and they struggle with managing that aspect of it. They're almost perfectionists in a sense. That's why they're such good employees. But when something goes wrong, how do you address that as a manager?
Well, if it's that situation where it's a good employee and they had a bad day, a bad interaction, and they're taking it pretty hard, then it's your job to build them back up, and make sure they understand that they are a valued employee, that, the vast majority of their work is fantastic. They were just a lot. Don't worry about it. Let's just get focused and dialed in. But you have to look at the trend with employees, like you were mentioning, some employees, maybe they start off good and then, they're starting to have a whole lot more bad days than they're having good days. So, you need to maybe go back into training. You need to make sure you're back into helping them get focused on what they're doing, why they're doing it, the principles of why they're doing it, and try to get them recentered. But sometimes, it doesn't work, and sometimes they're just not the right employee, and things just don't ever get corrected. And as much as it's painful to fire employees, sometimes that's just what you have to do because they're a poison to the culture. So, it's like one bad apple will ruin the basket of apples. So, and that seems harsh, but if you're really committed to providing stellar customer service, you can't afford to have that one bad apple, because the other employees will see that. And if you're making excuses for that one bad apple and letting them continue to be mediocre, that mediocrity will work into the attitudes of the other employees. So you have to be very careful of that, and you have to be on top of that. And it's okay to let an employee go from time to time when they aren't holding the standard that really needs to be held for great customer service.
And my experience is that at different stages of your company, there are different employees that work at different stages. And, being able to understand and monitor that. There's some employees that, as you continue to grow with you. There's some that love the company really small, and they like, being able to talk to the owner of the company. And once it starts to expand, they begin to feel neglected, right? And what kind of measurement tools do you use or recommend? And talk about measurement of customer service and measurement of how employees provide customer service.
Sure. There's three key measurements, three key indicators, and this comes from Jack Welch, the well-known CEO of GE. Turned GE around, but his three areas to monitor are customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction, and then cash flow. So, to monitor satisfaction from a customer and an employee standpoint, you're going to survey them. You're going to survey the customer and ask them, hey, how was our service 1 to 10? If it's below an 8, can we talk to you about what happened, how we could be better, where we dropped the ball? Same thing with the employee. I don't know if I just said that. The first one was customer. The second one's employee. Right. Employee asked them, how would you rate your experience here at the business, and would you recommend your friend or family to come working for us? And if the experience is less than an 8, then you need to talk to them and get a better understanding where things are off as far as the employee experience. But you will gain a tremendous amount of information out of those two aspects and monitoring those two aspects to help drive better customer service.
That's interesting. So, in the tools, like, is it as simple as using SurveyMonkey and things like that to and you find out what your percentages are, you find out what you got to work on, and you take the comments that you get from there and start to compile them, and they go from there. That makes perfect sense. What are some of the things I'm missing? I think I hit a lot of good things. Tell me some of the things that I might be missing in customer service that can really get you that exponential growth that you really need.
Well, one of the misconceptions that many business owners have, and we talked about this early on, where there's that, perception is reality. Many businesses owners, business managers perceive that they have great customer service, that they provide great customer service. And statistically, that is just not the case, particularly here in the United States. Roughly about 80%-ish of businesses provide average to just terrible levels of customer service. So there's only that 20-21% of businesses that are above average and up to superior. And so that this is a myth that a lot of businesses have that kind of put blinders up, and they don't see the holes and the problems that that they're losing customers by and through, which obviously goes to their bottom line, and they're losing money because of it. So just having that understanding that maybe our customer service isn't as stellar as we think it is. Now, most businesses have, this piece and this piece of great customer service, but that doesn't equate to, hey, we provide stellar customer service, great customer service. So that's something that I deal with all the time, talking with business owners and helping them understand that. And you really can't go wrong whether you have great customer service or not. There's always room for improvement. So if you do provide great customer service, hey, fantastic. Let's make it even better. If you don't, look at it and say, hey, we got room to improve. Let's improve it, because all it's going to do is help this business be better, grow, add to the bottom line, make it a better atmosphere for the employees. So there's really no downside to improving and making your customer service great.
That makes a ton of sense. I mean, I think everyone would like to get to that point. It's always you're right. I think the perception that you think you're doing a good job, and then you survey your customers and you realize that you're not doing as good a job as you initially thought. Tell everybody where they can get you and where they can reach you. Hold on a second with that.
Absolutely.
All right, kid. Okay, just got back from school, so.
Hey, that's great. So
absolutely.
Take care of your kiddos first, so that's awesome.
That's exactly it. But I want to make sure that we get. It's funny because I did timed up perfectly when he came home. I had a half day today. So awesome. Where can they find your book? First of all, I think people are afraid to write books on customer service. I love that you have the fortitude to write a book on that, because a lot of people would probably be like, that's a slippery slope. I don't even know if I know customer service that well. But where can they find your book, first of all?
Well, to that point, and I'd agree, people are like, it's like a man going to the doctor. I don't want to go because I don't want to know what, to know what they find out, what's wrong with me. So, but my philosophy and what I coach, and certainly what the book is about, is customer service isn't hard. It's not hard. It's just doing some simple things, getting some simple principles, getting some things down pat, and doing it consistently that can make a phenomenal difference in a business. So, and that's what my book is about: define and deliver exceptional customer service. It's an easy read. It's about 150 pages long. It's not full of fluff. It's just full of simple actions, principles, and items that a business owner or manager can take a hold of, start training, implement immediately, and make their business more successful. And that's what I call it, a success manual. So don't think of this as hard. Just think of it as a way to make my business more successful. It's just easy things. If you'll do them consistently, that'll make a difference. So you can find the book really anywhere you buy a book. And buy books. I have a digital copy. I have an audible copy for those who like to listen. And I know there's a lot of people who just like to listen to books, and then obviously a hard and a soft copy. You can also find out more about me on my website, which is drkellyhenry.com. So DRKELLY Henry.com. You can find out about me, about my programs, obviously the book. You can schedule a call with me where we can talk more about your business and how I can help you out. Also, I have a free downloadable PDF of my 5 top actions that a business can take and implement immediately to drive up a better perception of their customer service. So you can find that and download that off the website too. So drkellyhenry.com. And again, my book is Define and Deliver Exceptional Customer Service, Proven Strategies to Maximize Profits.
Awesome. I see it right there in the background. If I'm not mistaken. I see it right there.
Right behind me.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. I really enjoyed talking with you. A topic when you wanted to come on, I thought this would be a perfect topic for. We don't talk about this enough. Like we just don't talk about customer service enough. We talk about growing your business. We talk about all these different things, but we don't talk about how enough about handling the customers. And I really appreciate you coming on today.
And I appreciate it, Coach. Thanks for the opportunity. That mentioning talking about everything else about growing business, which you need to. I'm not pointing fingers there, but for me, and customer service is either going to enhance everything else you're doing, marketing, sales, human resource, employees, or it's going to detract from all those things. So really, that's how fundamental and how powerful and impactful customer service can be. When you're really doing it right, it's just going to make your business as a whole that much better.
Absolutely. Very well said. I'll leave it on that. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, Coach. I really appreciate it.
All right. Until next time, Success for Life podcast. Coach Shulman here with Dr. Kelly Henry. And really, really great having him on today. We'll see you next time.